Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to finish off word beginnings. We did 4 last time. The list is a little bit longer this time, but some of the word beginnings are less frequently used than the ones we did last week. So today we're going to look at words that begin with auto, words that begin with after, words that begin with multi, above, semi, and super. So 6 as opposed to the 4 we did last time. So let's start with examples of words that begin with auto. So that auto is represented by writing the full A on the T line. So automatic would be automatic. And if we changed it to automatically, we would simply add the I indicator, kicking the L out of it. Perhaps you could write for me autocratic. Remembering Cruella likes Twix bars, autocratic. Next one, auto cue. Auto cue. Full U at the end because of the heavy sound of U rather than the U indicator. And finally, autopsy. Autopsy. Now I'm going to do some sentences that employ those words. So, will you write for me, there was an automated response to the email. So I'm going to use the long T for THR. There was an automated response to the, and for email I'm going to do a full E, and then I'm going to remember that the L goes upwards after an M in mail. Sentence 2. He automatically cancelled his plans as soon as he heard the news. He automatically cancelled. CN blend, you could start there so that the L goes on the line, or you could have started with the CN on the line. Either is correct, of course. His plans, PL blend, as soon as he heard the, could be joined together, news, NW blend S. And one more sentence. She was rather autocratic and therefore not generally liked by her staff. I would have joined together she was, rather, the long T for THR, rather, autocratic, remembering to give Cruella the Twix bar again. And therefore, now therefore is a special outline. So mark it off on your special outlines list. We slope the H slightly and then put the FR blend like so. So that says therefore. Not generally, that's another special outline. GNI for generally. Without the I it would be general. Generally liked, change the K to a C and add the D, by her staff. Now there are exactly 30 words there, so if you wish to pause the video and just practice them a little bit, and then let's see if we can do half a minute at 60 words a minute. Ready? There was an automated response to the email. He automatically cancelled his plans as soon as he heard the news. She was rather autocratic and therefore not generally liked by her staff. The next one is this one, after. And we met this actually in week 1, lesson 1, because when we looked at the full A, we said that that could say able, able to, after, and ability. It can say all those things, and the sense of the sentence would tell us which it is. So we know it as a full A on the line for after. So this would say afternoon. This would say afterwards, and so on. Now I'm going to give you some sentences. Instead of putting all the words that I can think of beginning with after on the board and then giving you the sentences, there are not that many of them, so let's do the sentences and that will test you on the words. So we're going to start with, it had been a busy afternoon. So we could put it had been all together in a grouping. It had been a busy, BSI, afternoon. After all, it was the end of the month. Now we could do this after all, and that's perfectly fine. But we recognise this as a word grouping in Teeline. So in Teeline brackets, I'm going to write the way we can write it if we wish. Full A for after, and then the L going upwards. So that is the word grouping for after all. It's not very commonly used, but when it is possible to use it, it's a good plan to do so. So after all, it was the end of the month. I wonder if you could do that like this. It was the end of the month. Take off that Y there. It was the end of the month. Oh, isn't it great when we remember one of those magical phrases that if we are a little bit behind from the speaker, it enables us to catch up. And the accounts office needed the sales figures. And the accounts special outline office needed the sales figures. In the aftermath of the rush, now for aftermath, because you've got the after is only small and you've got a T in it, you could put it up here like this, aftermath of the rush. And the last little bit, drinks were never an afterthought. So drinks, DR and inks, were never an afterthought. Again, I'm going to put it up there because I've got a T in it. Afterthought. So let's just go through that again. It had been a busy afternoon. After all, which can be written like this, it was the end of the month and the accounts office needed the sales figures. In the aftermath of the rush, drinks were never an afterthought. Okay, practice those outlines, and now we're going to go on to this one, multi. So multi then is represented by writing an M over the top of what follows. So this is multiple. This is multiplication. This is multiply. What would you think this might be? That's right, multi-story. And we can actually use this as part of a grouping. See if you can read this grouping. Very commonly used. And it is multi-story car park. Parts of car park missed, of course. There's no R in car. We haven't put that in, and there's no R in park. But because we put those words together very regularly, then we don't need to write car park in full. If I added a disjoint L written upwards and then an S inside it, that becomes multi-story car park facilities. So we're just writing a disjoint L for lities, but that will come in the more advanced classes. But because I've shown you multi-story car park, occasionally that's followed by facilities, so that's how you would write it, instead of course, writing it in full, facilities. you could also do that. Anyway, I'm digressing here. So multi-storey car park, we'll leave it at that one. And the next one, multiracial. So M for multiracial. Multicultural, multicultural. Now we're going to write a few sentences to employ the multi. So let's start with, we live in a multicultural society. So common words like we live in a, you should be getting quite fast at those now, and then stopping to hesitate with the new theory. Multicultural society takes a bit of thinking about, doesn't it? I always put the I indicator in between the C and the T. It's just a habit I've got into, no particular reason. To me, it makes the outline clearer, but you could have done this, SCTI, and it would still have been correct. Put that one in Teeline brackets. The next one, he made multiple mistakes in the first half. He made multiple mistakes in the first half. Look at that grouping. Do you remember me showing you what in the first place? We did this bit. In the 1p for in the first place, in the 2p for in the second place. So now we've got in the first half. And by sandwiching that figure 1 between the in the and the next word, whether it be place or half, we don't have to circle it because 1 could be mistaken for something else, like an H, for example, that's not been written high enough. So in the first half, if you've thought about that, that's brilliant. Next one. In school, they learned long multiplication. So in school, they learned, L doubles for R-N-D, and then you can just put the ong there, long multiplication. So, not too much then to be concerned about with multi. So now we're going to move on to the next one, which is above. So then above is written above whatever follows. So it's a V above. So this would be above board. What do you think this might be? Three words. Middle word is missed out. We use the O, remember, over the top of something for over. And we're using the V for above. So that little symbol says over and above. There's not too many words, is there, that begin with above. So above board, above named is another one. Above named. Another one that we use fairly often is above mentioned. And remember we said we can do without men. So above mentioned can be this, above mentioned. If you wish to write it in full, above mentioned, then you can include the MN for men as well. But just above shunned could say above mentioned. So I think those are the main ones that we might use for above. So that just leaves us with two more, semi and super. And I'm going to do semi now because, again, that one, just like above, we don't use it that often. And when something begins with semi, we just write the full S before it. So that would say semi detached. This would say semi final. This would say semi, circle, and so on. So as you can appreciate, we don't use semi very much either. This is why I've given you 6 of them today, instead of the main 4 that we had last time. So we're left then with this one, super. And we do use this one possibly more than we use the others. The others that are on the board, that is. So when we write super, we write the S and U indicator above what follows. So this is the special outline for supermarket. If we wrote that in full, of course, we would add the C and the T, or the K and the T, which would change to a C and a T. That's the special outline for supermarket, so add that to your list. So this would say Superman, and so on. So the principle is quite easy. So let's have some words then that employ super. So write superhuman. So superhuman. You could write it just in front of the H, otherwise it's a little bit high if you write it above an H. Superhuman. Supersonic. Supersonic. Supernatural. Supernatural. Supercilious. Supersede. Supervise. Supervisor. Superb. Now there's one, because you've got the super there and then you've only got a B left. So in a word like that, it's very difficult to sort of section it to the super and then think about the B. So you might in that instance decide that the first thing that comes to your mind is to write super in full and then add the B. For the number of times you'll come across the word superb, it doesn't really matter. Whatever comes to your mind first, so that you don't hesitate and therefore miss the next 2 or 3 words of dictation. And last one, superstructure. So superstructure. So super, S, T doubles for R, C, T doubles for R, superstructure. And some sentences then for you to write. He made a superhuman effort to win the game. So we should have this. He made a superhuman effort to win the game. This communication was superseded by something else. This communication, that's a special outline, was superseded by something, ing for thing, else, ELS. And the next one. He believed in the supernatural to a high degree. He believed in the supernatural to a high degree. Now in degree, of course, you've got the G followed by the R, but you've only got an E left. So you can hardly write the E inside the G, so you'd have to put the R in. The young man had a supercilious attitude. The young man had a supercilious attitude. And the last one, he went to the supermarket regularly. He went to the special outline supermarket, and regularly is special outline RGI, regularly. So that concludes all the word beginnings. If I'm honest, it's one of the lessons that is my least favourite, because it seems a long list of word beginnings, some of which we very, very rarely use. So select what you think is more likely to be commonly used and concentrate on those. Be aware of them, practice them, but word beginnings have finished now, and next time we're going to do word endings. Then we're almost there. Oh, and one last thing. I'm really sorry I have to keep bobbing in and out, but my very glamorous partner, Rosalie, of course, is unable to be here because of circumstances. So we'll be really pleased when she can come back and join us. I'm sure you've missed her as much as I have. Before I see you again, don't get worried or stressed. Let's love Teeline together.